Hey there. Last time I talked about the net income statement as it relates to startups, and I pointed out that revenue minus the cost of goods sold is equal to the gross profit. So today what I want to do is cover the cost of goods sold as it relates to startups. Cost of goods sold is essentially how much it costs to make something, and the definition is over here. You can read it above my head. It's essentially the labor and the materials that go into making something. Let's take an example like a toy store. Let's say you buy a toy from Lego and you want to sell it to the consumer. You buy it for 10, you sell it to the consumer for 20. Then your cost of goods sold is essentially the $10. It's the $10 for that inventory. Pretty simple, straightforward. But what if you're a toy manufacturer? Now it gets more complex because now you're dealing with the concept of cost of goods manufactured along with the cost of finished goods beginning and ending. Well, then what is cost of goods manufactured? Well, that deals with total manufacturing cost along with the concept known as work in process, both beginning and ending. Well, what is total manufacturing cost, TMC? Well, that's the raw materials that you use, the direct labor, and your manufacturing overhead. That's where you create the products. But that also deals with raw materials used, and that goes to beginning raw materials and ending raw materials plus purchase raw materials. But that's okay because accountants have come up with something known as the schedule of cost of goods manufacturing. Here's what the schedule of cost of goods manufacturing looks like. You have your direct materials being calculated here. Through some other fields, you have your direct labor, you have your manufacturing overhead, leads to total manufacturing cost, and then you do your beginning and ending work in process. That leads to the cost of goods manufactured, and then you have beginning and ending finished goods, which leads to the cost of goods sold. But you don't need to worry about all that because for startups, we essentially zero out all the beginning and ending stuff. So you end up with cost of goods sold, cost of goods manufacturing, and total manufacturing costs equal to the same thing, which is just essentially the materials you use, the raw materials, the direct labor, and your manufacturing overhead. So here you have it isolated for you, and you can see we zeroed out all the beginning and endings in all the formulas. And so you end up essentially with the total manufacturing cost, in this case being $52,000, cost of goods manufactured $52,000, cost of goods sold $52,000, which is a heck of a lot easier than having to do it from scratch and figuring out all the different fields. So again, for startups, we zero everything out and you end up with cost of goods sold.